responsive, I'll ask you to read the indented parts. It's a tough way to begin. An authentic church should advertise as follows: our worship is not an entertainment. Our congregation is not an audience. Our music is not a concert performance. Our preaching is not a trivial comfort. Our theology is not a marketing strategy. Our counseling is not a promise of prosperity. Our church is not a business enterprise. Our ministry is not a cult of personality. And our success is not a membership statistic. Reading from Patrick of Ireland from a long, long time ago, the 400s of the Common Era, for those of you who wish to read together. May the way of the divine pilot us. May the healing of the divine preserve us. May the wisdom of the divine instruct us. May the strength of the divine protect us. May the love of the divine direct and defend us. Amen. And a song from Whitney. I am sorry, somebody just asked for a link to get into the service. So let me ask Ray to do reading 1 and reading 2 while I give them a link to the service. Let me suggest that the first reading by Paul is a suggestion in the first beginning of why he is single, but the reason why he suggests marriage is, please don't pay any attention to that. It is the worst reason I can ever think for getting married. And then pay attention, if you would, in the second reading at the very end. Good
morning. 1 Corinthians 7, 8 through 9. To the unmarried and the widows, I say that it is well for them to remain unmarried, as I am. But if they are not practicing self-control, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to be aflame with passion. Hard Times by Richard Shulman. You know I can't go on with any regret. Our relationship is hard like a game of roulette. We're off and on so constantly. And you cheating, come on, honestly? This is a hard thing to say, but needs to be said. I can't go on being with you. Sometimes I'd rather be dead. You treat me so bad and make me cry. Don't worry anymore. I need to lie. No need to lie. You have hurt me a lot, and I want you to know I will never love you again, so let me go. I made up my mind. I made my choice. I soon will be happy and able to rejoice. It's over now. You should think long and hard. Maybe next time you won't cheat. I treated you no less than my queen. You went behind my back. You lost my trust. You broke my heart. Now I need to reboot and maybe restart.
I'm going to go ahead and play the next song while he's finishing up.
If you would, we're all set to go. Thank you.
Hold on. Technical difficulties. Here we go.
For laughing, I'm trying to think of the types of music you've just heard. We've heard the Mississippi Mass Choir, which is all black and full of energy. Then we got from Whitney singing a love song to a 15-year-old tired of his cheating girlfriend says goodbye. Then we get a country and western Jody Messina. We're all not right. Moving right along, we get Marvin Hamlisch, who writes a great deal of lyrics, and Ray again is going to read for us. Thank you again, Ray.
Okay. Can it be that it was all so simple then? Or has time rewritten every line? If we had the chance to do it all again, tell me, would we? Could we? Memories may be beautiful, and yet, what's too painful to remember, we simply choose to forget. So it's the laughter we will remember whenever we remember the way we were, the way we were.
Ay, ay, ay. Okay. I begin this morning's comments by something that shouldn't surprise any of you, that my ignorance remains consistent. Great way to begin a share. My ignorance remains consistent. I was going to start out with, and imagine this is a cartoon that Melissa Merwin sent. Schroeder is playing his piano, and Lucy is resting on the piano, and she says to Schroeder, sometimes I think you don't realize that you could lose me. As he's playing the piano away. Then she turns and faces him and says, are you sure you want to suffer the tortures of the memory of the lost love? She continues, do you know the tortures of the memory of lost love? It's awful. She slams her hand down on the piano and the piano bounces. Then she kicks the piano up into the air and she screams, it will haunt you night and day. You'll wake up at night screaming. You can't eat. You can't sleep. You'll want to smash things as she's jumping up and down on the piano. You'll hate yourself and the world, everybody in it. Ah! Are you sure you want to risk losing me? That's the way I was going to begin today, with all these ideas of boo-ha-ha, and it's time to bring out the towels and the Kleenex and love's labor's lost. And I had this great idea that people in this country were just breaking up right and left and this whole landscape, until I actually did some reading. The problem with reading is oftentimes you're faced with the fact that what you may think has no basis in reality whatsoever. Has any of you ever had that? You've had an idea and you're doing some research and you find that what you were thinking is really, it's not there. I had a hint of this when I started noticing how many students of mine were not as couples anymore in class. I'll get to that in a moment. In my research, listen to the following. Jane Austen, by the way, I think this is a riot. Jane Austen, the writer par excellence, according to women, of the great women's romance of all time, Jane Austen. Leonardo da Vinci, Queen Elizabeth I, Sir Isaac Newton, Nikola Tesla, Louisa May Alcott, another one. Condoleezza Rice, Florence Nightingale, Susan B. Anthony, Voltaire, Henry David Thoreau, Ludwig von Beethoven, Emily and Anne Bronte, the famous Bronte sisters, George Friedrich Handel, Immanuel Kant, Soren Kierkegaard, Plato, Jesus, and obviously Paul. All these people were single. All of them were single, which I find, by the way, Jane Austen being single, being able to write all these romance things is quite interesting. Now, for those of you who are Jane Austen's fans, don't take offense. I noticed about 10 years ago that there was a huge drop off in people in class who were going out with somebody. When I first started teaching, which is about the time dirt appeared on the planet, it seemed just about everybody had somebody they were seeing. But 10 years ago, I noticed somehow, finally, that you'd ask how many people were going out with somebody. And the reason I did this is because we would have telenovela moments before class. As class began, we wanted to know how many people broke up. They said, that's horrible. And then I would have everybody stand for a moment of silence, and I would weep, wail, and gnash teeth, and we would have a great moment celebrating people as they passed on into breakupness. Well, then, it got less and less and less, and it ruined the moment. I said, come on, guys, you've got to start going out with people. I can't make this work unless we have people going out. Going out, you have people that break up. Well, we thought this was funny until I kept on noticing as the years go by, less and less people. And I began to notice in the last 5 years, especially, you may have 3 or 4 people who would have a partner, and that would be it. And it didn't dawn on me that there have been basic changes in the way of what's going on in the United States today. Not when I was in school, not 30 years ago, but there have been major changes in the way people are looking at relationships, partnerships, marriage, etc. Then I did some digging and listened to these statistics. If you're not, you probably are aware of this. I'm usually the last one that is. The latest stuff from the Pew Foundation shows that 50% of single people are not interested in a committed romantic relationship and aren't even interested in a date. 50% of people in this country, that's a totally different statistics, aren't interested in even going out. They're single. 50% of the people in this country are single. And 50% of the people that are single aren't interested in dating at all. Thank you very much. Whoa. 10% wanted nothing more than casual dates. 26% of people said, yeah, we might be interested in going out from time to time. And only 14% of half the people in this country are interested right now in a serious romantic relationship. That's it. You look in New York City at the number of single people from 18 to 45, and it's like half the population of New York City is single. That is true of most urban areas today. And I was not aware of that, but this has been going on now, according to the demographic trends, for about 15 years. Many of us grew up thinking that, what you do is you get married. And I remember taking my very first family and marriage class, and the first thing that the professor said, you do realize not everybody's going to get married. They don't want to get married, nor should they get married. And I'm thinking, really? I didn't know that. And I'm thinking, if I didn't know that, how did I ever get into graduate school? So I don't know about you, my whole concept of people getting married or not getting married or whatever is simply not where people are at today. Yes, there are people that get married, but right now in this country, there are vast percentages, half that are interested in getting married, want to remain single, and that's the way it is, and they feel perfectly comfortable with that. Okay, then I thought, I completely forgot about the divorced, and you're going to find vast people who've been married before have no interest in reliving the Civil War again. For them, marriage was anything but lovely, wonderful, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, it's time now, as I've often said, is it better to be single and happy or married and miserable? Or as I used to say jokingly, marriages may be in heaven. Unfortunately, they have to be lived here on earth. So you get vast numbers of people who tried marriage, and for a variety of reasons, they didn't work. And by the way, I was not very well received when people would come into me after they were getting a divorce, and they would come in and sit down, and they'd say to me, I'm here. I said, and the first thing they would do is start complaining about their husband or their ex-wife or their ex-girlfriend or their ex-whatever. And I'd say, stop. We're not here to talk about your ex. There is nothing I can do about your ex. There's nothing you can do about your ex. We're here to talk about you. And now we get, what do you mean by that, Reverend? I said, well, you're the one who's here. You're the one who chose this relationship. You're the one out of this relationship. So what do you need to know about yourself? I can't tell me people get mad and leave. They said, I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to rant about my ex. I said, well, there's nothing you do about your ex. You got to do about you. Vast numbers of people are divorced. And then let's not forget another group, the widowed and widower. And I understand this. Now, everybody knows with my heart transplant that I will be leaving first. But if God forbid something happened to Maria, I was so spoiled living with her that I wouldn't even think of looking at another person. Unfortunately, I'm one of those ones who's been totally spoiled. And so I understand when you talk to a widow or widower, hey, do you think of me? Are you out of your mind? I wouldn't think of it. So we've got, not only we've had young people who are not interested, but we've got people who are divorced and they bring certain scars with them to the table. We got people who are widowed or widowers who had a relationship they know that simply cannot be repeated. So it's quite a landscape we have out there in the real world. There is a flip side of romance then for those who are engaged in romance. And what happens when it doesn't work? That lovely song, didn't we almost have it all? But we didn't have it all. What happens when it doesn't work? For a variety of reasons. What happens when the relationship isn't healthy? For a variety of reasons. What happens when it isn't good? And by the way, this was a big thing in the New York Times this morning as I quickly perused it. You'll never guess what country's divorce rate is skyrocketing. China. China's divorce rate has gone through the roof. Women are saying, I'm tired of being treated like a second-class citizen. I'm not putting up with being the second-class person in the house. I'm not putting up with this anymore, and I want out. And the divorce rate is skyrocketing. There are a variety of reasons why people break up. Let me talk about two phrases that come out all the time in breakups in relationships. Now, unfortunately, I made fun of these till I started doing some thinking. Did any of you ever make a comment and it's too late, you already start thinking about what it meant? I have a habit of doing this. First one was, let's be friends. Worst three words in the English language. Let's be friends. The next one is almost as bad. It's not you, it's me. Yes. Yes, these two, and I'll mention these in college classes, and everybody roars, and then they stop roaring, and I said, maybe those don't work, and I got to thinking about this. What happens when those two are actually true and sincere? Yes. What happens when they're true? What if somebody wants to be a friend or not remotely interested in you in an intimate way, other than being a friend? And when they say to you, let's remain friends, at this point, you're heartbroken. I don't want to be friends. But they're trying to say to you, what you bring is a friendship that I want. And you're thinking, I don't want a friendship, I want you, and all this stuff. And they're trying to say to you, your value to me, genuinely and honestly, I want to remain friends because if we go more than that, we may break up and then I'll lose you as a friend. And they're trying to be genuine and loving and kind. And that happens. And so while I was making fun of that, I was thinking, you know, Claus, you don't get it. There are people who are actually, they're very smart. They know that if you become more than friends, they may lose you as a friend or you lose them as a friend, and nobody's going to win on this. They're being very mature. The next one is even more complicated. When you say it's not you, it's me, think about the person who's saying that. Now, a lot of you who know me say, is this being biographical? Sometimes, yes. But those of you who know me are all laughing. Stop it. Because what I'm about to say, you know, is true. Ed has known me since 1970. You think when you say that, you know down deep you're a mess. Seriously, you know you're a mess. I'll give you an example of what a mess is. Any of you saw that movie, 4 Weddings and a Funeral? There is a scene where our hero's sitting at a reception table with all of his ex-girlfriends. Somebody said to me, that happened to you, didn't it? And I said, yes, it did. I said the bride, by the way, it's interesting. Most of my ex-girlfriends asked me to officiate at their weddings. And they told their spouses, you don't have to be jealous of Kenneth. He's fun, but he's a mess. Nobody would ever marry him for good reasons. So I got stuck by the bride as a joke with ex-girlfriends because, yeah, it was always awful. Absolutely awful. That movie was, anyway. You know yourself to be a mess. You know you are, I love this phrase, a work in progress. You know what that means on many levels. You know you're not ready to settle down. You know you're immature, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you say it's not you, it's me, what if you're really trying to be honest? And you're really trying to spare somebody else grief and upset. So let's say I say to Ray, I love it when I gender bend. Let's say Ray and I are going out and I say to Ray, it's not you, it's me. Ray may be mad at me for an instant or a week or a month, but it's much better for a week or a month than to be stuck, get into a marriage and drag things off that's going to be unhealthy for years. Am I making sense? The person may be doing us a favor. Because I'll tell you something, what happens if you're the person who's a mess, but you have enough self-awareness, listen to this, you have enough self-awareness that you know if you continue in the relationship, it will fail because you're not healthy enough. And then you're going to feel even more guilty because you know you should have stopped it before it began. That means you're getting even more of a mess. You continue messiness. So those 2 words, those 2 phrases may cause us a lot of hurt, but they can really be meant by really put together people or people really trying to think of us in our best light. We say, let's be friends because they want you as a friend. They don't want to lose that. Or it's not you, it's me, knowing full well that me, whatever that me may be, is not good enough, competent enough, healthy enough, whatever, to bring something to the table that needs to be brought to the table for a good, healthy relationship. And so what happens when we break up? It seems to me we've got the 2 things that hurt us most, and they really are nasty: rejection and a hit to self-esteem. I want to share something about my classes. Oftentimes my students say to me, you know, taking a class with you is more like, is not only we're learning about religions, but it's about you're trying to build us up. You're trying to give us some self-esteem. I said, the reality is self-esteem is something we always work on. And just when we think we've got it, something comes along and knocks us off kilter. Let me tell you how crazy this all is. My high school has been meeting reunions with Zoom. And I've been told this several times in the last month. You know, listen to this. This shows you how crazy we all are. You know, we looked at you and you were really handsome and had it really together. And we thought you were really one of the people that had it together. And I stopped and said, who are you talking about? They said, you. I said, who? I said, I don't know where you got that self-image of me because that's not the self-image I had when I was in high school. They said, what do you mean? You were handsome. You were this, you were that. I said, I saw myself as a 5'9" skinny, not particularly handsome, no self-confidence and no self-esteem. They said, really? We look to you to having it all together. I said, I had nothing together. They said, really? I said, where did you get this from? They said, and I thought this is fascinating. I think everybody wrestles with self-esteem, and I think it goes up and it goes down. It doesn't care what age you are. We wrestle. Am I right? Look at me. Am I right? We wrestle with self-esteem and we wrestle with rejection. And so when somebody says, let's be friends, nobody wants to feel rejected. And nobody wants to feel as if their self-esteem is, once again, when you look in the mirror says, we told you so, you're no good. You're not lovable, you're yuck. And a lot of us grew up in situations where we were told we were unlovable, we're not any good, and we're yuck. And so when it happens all over again. And then with this comes the bad three. Anger, resentment, and grievance. And no, I'm not talking about Trump. I'm talking about when you have a breakup. Anger, resentment, and grievance, and its evil cousin, depression. Am I making sense to everybody? And that's what gets in the mess of all of the breakups. Anger, resentment, and grievance, and you throw in the opposite side, depression. And then you get, do you have revenge, bad behavior, criminal behavior, or a comment from Viktor Frankl. Lost everybody in the Holocaust and had this brilliant survival comment. You cannot change your circumstances, but you can change your response to your circumstances. Let me read that again. You can't change your circumstances. You're broken up. It's over. It's no good. It's gone. But you can change the way you respond to that. And that is the key and the clue. And you may find some surprises. Number one, and they're all the same. They all go together. I put down 1, 2, and 3 because it's easy to remember. You can art. Did you read, Ray, can you read that poem to us one more time, Hard Times? Can you pull that up? Absolutely. I want you to listen to this poem. Listen to this.
You know, I can't go on with any regret. Our relationship is hard like a game of roulette. We're off and on so constantly, and you cheating, come on, honestly? This is a hard thing to say, but needs to be said. I can't go on being with you. Sometimes I'd rather be dead. You treat me so bad and make me cry. Don't worry anymore. No need to lie. You have hurt me a lot, and I want you to know I will never love you again, so let me go. I made up my mind. I've made my choice. I soon will be happy and able to rejoice. It's over now. You should think long and hard. Maybe next time you won't cheat. I treated you no less than my queen. You went behind my back. You lost my trust. You broke my heart. Now I need to reboot and maybe restart.
That was written not by a girl, by a boy 15. He took out his circumstance with art. Some of the greatest poetry, the greatest art, the greatest music. As much as I laugh at country and Western, who do we have today? Country and Western. Leanne Rimes, Jody Messina. That's why I played Jody after this poem. Goodbye, bye-bye, enough is enough. You can art, you can paint, you can write, you can make song, you can listen to song, you can art yourself as a way of therapy. Number 2, you can grow and you can take the occasion to do self-awareness. A lot of people don't like the word therapy. It's like you've got some kind of taint, some kind of odor to you. So I told my students, forget the word therapy, call tune-up. My students said, oh, we like that. I said, go for a tune-up. I said, you tune up your car? Yeah. I said, everybody I know has been in for tune-ups. I said, what do you think I did when I went off to Camp Happy? That was not a joy, folks. I voluntarily, my career at Port Orange was over. I went off, nobody made me go. I went off to voluntarily because a couple of doctors came up and said to me, you need to get yourself together. Your career is not over. You need to go to rehab. I said, why? We went to rehab. I said, you did? Yes. So you go too. And I went. Tune-ups work if you want them to work. If any of you think I'm effective now, it's only because I've had to do a lot of work over and over and over again to work at the things I need to do. And I'll give you an example. I said something stupid the other day, and one of my best friends in this congregation called me on it. And rather than getting mad like I would have done in the past, I'll embarrass her. Judy, let me embarrass you for a minute. I'm going to embarrass you for a minute. I said to the person whose family got sick and she didn't let me know, I said, I could kick you in the butt. I could beat you one. And Judy said, Kenneth, don't say that about women. That's not cool. It doesn't work. And I said, you know, you're right. Had I not been to rehab, had I not been to tune-ups, I would have ticked off, mad, and held a grudge. Now I've finally grown up and said, she's right. And I said, from now on, remind me of that when I do stuff like that, because I tend to forget. I've learned when you make mistakes, you say you're sorry and you learn and you keep the door open. But it took me to go to rehab and it took me lots of tune-ups to learn how to do that. And so tune-ups are essential. When you find yourself things are working, how do you learn to grow up? You learn to do tune-ups. Off you go. You do some self-repair so you don't make this damn stupid mistake again. So we have opportunities is what I'm saying. We can surprise ourselves. We can art. We can go off. We can see things. We can make changes. Now, people say to me, given the way you are, how did you ever marry Maria Teresa? And I said, the best way I can explain this is, and I can't explain it any different by an example. Both of us had baggage. Imagine two of us standing on a train station, getting so wrapped up and talking to each other, that we get on the train and the train takes off and we left all the baggage back on the station. The fact is, it turns out we're both incredibly independent, but in our independence, we found an electricity and a magnetism. It makes no sense. But Maria has gone through her stuff. I've gone through mine. And somehow we grasp changes. We're both very stubborn, but we grasped the changes, did the tune-ups, and things can happen. So yes, people get, let's be friends. It's not you, it's me. We get hurt, we get rejected, but you can get what? Guess what? You can change the way you look at the circumstances. You can grow, you can make art, you can learn more about yourself. You don't get stuck in that book, Smart Woman, Foolish Choices. You stop making the foolish choices. And if you find relationships don't work, that's fine too. If you find you're better off by yourself for a variety of reasons, that's just as good. How do you remain healthy and good and keep on working at it? That gives you increased esteem and an increased sense of being able to deal with life as it is. If your faith, you may say, Reverend, what does this have to do with religion? I don't care what your religion is. If your religion doesn't give you the foundation to do this, it doesn't mean anything. Each of you has your own journey. Each of you has your own way of looking at what life is. And if faith means anything to any of you, whatever your faith may be, it must be positive that it gives you the challenge to do it. One of our members here was one of the ones who came to me and said, go. And I remember when I was at Camp Happy, and I've mentioned this a dozen times because you need to hear experiences happen. If I hadn't been open to the experience that I had there, I wouldn't have finished and I wouldn't have been able to continue. So all of you bring something to the table. All of you bring opportunities. And my hope is when those moments come, and you get those circumstances that you can't change, you can change the way you react to them. You can art. You can grow. You become more self-aware. You can do tune-ups. And in spite of it all, you can love yourself and love those around you. And that's the best we can ask. Amen. And a full Celine Dion, if you would, Margarita. part of All Souls or new to All Souls, we have a couple of things now which we added early on, and honestly, I don't remember how they came about. The first is a reading that I asked you to follow reading after me, if you would. Those of you who are used to this now, you know where we're going to go. And some of you may ask, are you actually reading from Winnie the Pooh? Yes, of course, because it's good. Please repeat after me. Promise me you'll remember. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think. God didn't promise days without pain, laughter without sorrows, sun without rain. But the divine did promise strength for the day, comfort for the tears, and light for the way. And the other thing that we have added to our service is the famous or infamous black chip. In AA and NA, if you've got things that are bothering you, you have to pick up a black chip. And so let me ask, does anybody have a black chip to return? Show your black chip if you have to return it. Then the idea is, if something is really ticking you off before you leave NA or AA, so it doesn't cause you to do bad things like relapse, you pick up a black chip, which is your promise to work on it. So I'm not sure how, but we've gone through boxes of these over the years. Does anybody have a black chip that they want to show that they have things they want to work on? Does anybody have a black chip? Oh, goody, goody, goody. I was missing these. Okay, we've got black chips. If you are missing black chips, by all means, email me. We will send you lots of them. Okay, Pat, Maureen, and Ray have got things they want to work on. We give you strength to do so. All right. And finally, a prayer before our final hymn. We have final music, and then we have a parting blessing, and ask everybody to stay for a moment so we can say hello to everybody online. For those of you who are new, you might want to know how we can do music like this. Let me just say, this congregation has an incredible ability, if the words are awful, to listen to the music. And so we have a wide selection of music that we've been listening to over the last couple of years since we've been on Zoom. And if you like Southern gospel music, but don't particularly care for theology, that's fine. Just don't listen to theology, but enjoy the beat. You like gospel, don't like the words, but you like the music, enjoy it. And open yourselves up to the vast varieties of music that we can enjoy, including country and Western. A marvelous prayer. May the blessings of God be upon us in this hour and in the days to come, that we may seek the truth more devotedly, that we may think more independently, that we may reflect more searchingly, that we may know ourselves more completely, we may forgive more quickly, we may pray more thoughtfully, we may act more courageously, we may live more nobly. And a marvelous expression of that is none other than Louis Armstrong himself. We combined an ancient Irish blessing with a Hindu greeting. Now may the road rise to meet you, and may the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rains fall softly upon your fields. And when we meet again, may the divine in me greet and embrace the divine in you. Amen. We want to say hello to everybody before we take off to our